Marilyn Mosby, a name synonymous with hope and change. She was a young, ambitious lawyer who became Baltimore's top prosecutor. People believed in her. They saw her as a beacon of progress, someone who was going to fight for the city. She vowed to hold the powerful accountable. Her election was a watershed moment. Mosby's early days in office were marked by action, and she was thrust into the national spotlight, especially due to her handling of the Freddie Gray case. Gray, a young black man, died in police custody, and Mosby's decision to bring charges against the officers involved was unprecedented. It cemented her image as a fearless advocate for justice. However, this high-profile case also drew scrutiny. Her every move was watched and analyzed. Critics began to question her motives and accused her of being politically motivated. Despite the controversy, Mosby remained resolute and continued to pursue her agenda of reform. Her star continued to rise as she championed progressive policies and advocated for criminal justice reform. Her work garnered national attention, making her a familiar face on cable news and a sought-after speaker at conferences. Mosby seemed destined for greatness, a rising star in the Democratic Party, but fate, as it often does, had other plans. The year 2022 marked a turning point in Mosby's career. The once celebrated prosecutor found herself on the other side of the law. A federal grand jury indicted her on charges of perjury and mortgage fraud. The news sent shockwaves through Baltimore and beyond. The indictment alleged that Mosby had lied about experiencing financial hardship related to the COVID-19 pandemic and used this false claim to withdraw money from her retirement account for down payments on 2 vacation properties. It also accused her of failing to disclose a tax lien on a mortgage application. Mosby vehemently denied the charges, maintaining her innocence and claiming to be the victim of a politically motivated witch hunt. Her supporters rallied behind her, echoed her claims of injustice, pointed to her work as a prosecutor, and called the indictment an attempt to silence her. The legal battle ahead was daunting. Mosby faced serious charges that carried hefty penalties, and her reputation was on the line. The outcome of the case had the potential to derail her career, but she was determined to fight back, and vowed to clear her name. The stage was set for a high-stakes legal drama. The charges against Mosby were complex and serious, centering on allegations of financial impropriety and a serious breach of public trust. The prosecution accused her of using her position for personal gain through mortgage fraud, which involves making false statements on loan applications. Mosby was accused of doing this to secure loans for her vacation properties and misrepresenting her financial situation by claiming to have suffered financially due to the pandemic, despite her salary as state's attorney remaining consistent. Perjury, on the other hand, involves lying under oath. Mosby was accused of lying on a mortgage application and allegedly lied under oath in a separate legal matter. The prosecution presented evidence which they claimed proved her guilt, built a compelling case, brought in expert witnesses, and aimed to convince the jury that Mosby knowingly broke the law and used her position to enrich herself. They asked the jury to hold her accountable. The Mosby case divided Baltimore. Opinions on her guilt or innocence were sharply divided as the city grappled with the allegations against its once celebrated prosecutor. Mosby's supporters stood by her, believing she was innocent and viewing the charges as politically motivated. They saw her as a victim of a system designed to silence black women in positions of power, and argued that her work as a reformer had made her enemies, who were now seeking revenge. On the other hand, her critics felt that justice should be served, arguing that no one is above the law and believing that the evidence against her was strong. They felt that she should be held accountable for her actions and called for her resignation, arguing that she could no longer effectively serve as state's attorney. The case sparked intense debate, playing out in the media and in homes and workplaces across Baltimore. The city was on edge. Everyone awaited the outcome of the trial, which would have a profound impact on Baltimore and on Mosby's legacy. Section 5. The trial begins. A battle of narratives. The trial began in a climate of intense scrutiny. Every aspect of the case was dissected by legal experts and the media alike. It was a classic courtroom drama. Two competing narratives emerged. The prosecution painted Mosby as a corrupt official. They argued that she had abused her power for personal gain. They presented a detailed account of her alleged financial misdeeds. They argued that she deliberately misled lenders to secure favorable loan terms. They claimed that her actions were a clear violation of the law. They demanded accountability. Mosby's defense team countered with a different narrative. They portrayed her as a dedicated public servant. They argued that she was targeted for her progressive policies. They claimed that the prosecution was politically motivated. They sought to undermine the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses. They highlighted inconsistencies in the prosecution's case. The courtroom became a battleground for these competing narratives. Each side presented their case with conviction. The jury listened intently. They weighed the evidence. They assessed the credibility of the witnesses. The fate of Marilyn Mosby hung in the balance. Section 6. Witness testimonies and evidence presented. The trial unfolded over several weeks. Each day brought new revelations and dramatic moments. Witnesses took the stand. They provided their accounts of the events in question. Evidence was presented. This evidence included financial records and email correspondence. The prosecution called a series of witnesses. These witnesses testified about Mosby's financial dealings. They included representatives from the financial institutions involved in the loans. They also included experts who analyzed her financial records. Each witness added another piece to the prosecution's puzzle. The defense team, in turn, cross-examined the prosecution's witnesses. They challenged their recollections. They pointed out inconsistencies. They sought to cast doubt on their testimony. They also called their own witnesses to the stand. These witnesses provided alternative interpretations of the events. The courtroom became a stage for a battle of credibility. Each side tried to sway the jury's perception of the witnesses. The jurors listened attentively. They took notes. They observed the demeanor of those who took the stand. They were tasked with separating fact from fiction. Section 7. The defense's case, countering the allegations. The defense team faced an uphill battle. They had to convince the jury that the prosecution's case was flawed. They argued that Mosby was a victim of circumstance. They presented her as a dedicated public servant who had made some mistakes. They argued that Mosby had relied on the advice of professionals. These professionals had handled her financial affairs. They claimed that she was unaware of any wrongdoing. They maintained that she had not intentionally misled anyone. They presented her as a busy professional with a demanding job. The defense team also attacked the prosecution's case. They pointed out inconsistencies in the evidence. They challenged the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses. They suggested that the prosecution was driven by political motives. They argued that Mosby was being targeted for her progressive views. The defense's strategy was two-pronged. They aimed to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors. They also aimed to portray Mosby as a sympathetic figure. They wanted the jury to see her as a dedicated public servant who had been caught up in a political firestorm. After weeks of testimony and legal arguments, the case went to the jury. The pressure was immense. The jury held Mosby's fate in their hands. Their decision would have far-reaching consequences. The jury deliberated for days. They reviewed the evidence, debated the merits of the case, weighed the credibility of the witnesses, and grappled with the complex legal issues at hand. The tension in the courtroom was palpable. The public anxiously awaited the verdict. Speculation was rampant. Would the jury find Mosby guilty or not guilty? The case had divided the city. The verdict had the potential to further inflame tensions. As the jury continued their deliberations, the weight of their responsibility was evident. They held Mosby's future in their hands. Their decision would have a profound impact on her life, her career, and the city of Baltimore. The jury reached a verdict after days of deliberation. The courtroom was silent. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Marilyn Mosby, her face etched with anxiety, stood before the judge. The verdict was read. Not guilty on all counts. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. Mosby, visibly relieved, embraced her attorneys. Her supporters erupted in cheers. The courtroom erupted in chaos. The implications of the verdict were immediately apparent. Mosby was free to go. Her legal ordeal was over. Yet, the case had taken its toll. Her reputation had been tarnished. The case had exposed deep divisions within the city. The verdict sparked mixed reactions. Mosby's supporters celebrated. They saw it as a victory against injustice. Her critics, however, expressed disappointment. They questioned the jury's decision. The case, despite its outcome, left a lasting impact on Baltimore. It served as a stark reminder of the complexities of power, justice, and accountability. Despite the not guilty verdict, the legal battle continued. The government, dissatisfied with the outcome, filed an appeal. They argued that procedural errors had occurred during the trial. They requested a retrial. Mosby once again found herself facing an uncertain future. The appeal process promised to be lengthy and arduous. It would keep the case in the public eye. It would prolong the scrutiny and pressure she had endured for over a year. The appeal process dragged on. Months turned into years. The legal fees mounted. Mosby continued to maintain her innocence. She vowed to fight the appeal. She was determined to clear her name. The case had become a legal saga. It had captivated the nation. It had raised important questions about the criminal justice system. It had also highlighted the challenges faced by women and minorities in positions of power. The outcome of the appeal would have far-reaching implications. It would shape Mosby's legacy. It would also set a precedent for future cases. The fall of Marilyn Mosby is a cautionary tale. It is a story about the swift rise and sudden fall from grace. It is a reminder that power is fleeting. It is also a reminder that the pursuit of justice is often fraught with complexities. Mosby's story is a reminder that public trust is paramount. Those in positions of power have a duty to uphold the law. They must be held accountable for their actions. This is essential for maintaining public confidence in our institutions. The Mosby case also highlights the importance of due process. Everyone, regardless of their position, is entitled to a fair trial. The presumption of innocence must be upheld. The burden of proof lies with the prosecution. The Mosby case continues to resonate. It serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of our legal system. It also underscores the importance of transparency, accountability, and the pursuit of justice for all.